Once upon a time, in a quiet, forgotten corner of the world, there stood a village cradled by misty forests and slumbering hills. The people there were simple, their days marked by the rising sun and the chiming of the town clock. But every home, from the humblest cottage to the grandest manor, shared a peculiar tradition. Mirrors were always covered at night. Not just any mirrors, but the old ornate ones, the kind with silvered backs that seemed to hold secrets within their depths. The children were told it was to keep away bad dreams, but the elders knew the real reason. They knew the story of the Mirror Witch. They said she wasn't born a witch.
She was once a girl named Alara, famed throughout the land for a beauty so profound it was, said flowers would turn their heads to watch her pass.
Her hair was like spun moonlight, and her eyes held the deep, clear blue of a mountain lake. Alara loved her reflection. She would spend hours before a magnificent silver-framed mirror her grandmother had gifted her, a mirror that was said to have been crafted with enchanted glass. She didn't see vanity in her reflection. She saw a friend, a confidant. She would whisper her dreams to the girl in the glass, share her fears, and laugh with a joy that echoed back at her. Her life was perfect until a terrible fire swept through her family's estate. Alara survived, but not without a price. The flames had been cruel, leaving one side of her face scarred and twisted. Her beauty, the very core of her identity, was fractured. In her grief and despair, she turned to the one friend she thought she had left, the girl in the mirror. But when she looked into the glass, she saw a stranger, a monster. The reflection she had so adored now mocked her with a broken image. The girl in the mirror was still perfect, untouched by the fire. Alara screamed, a sound of pure agony and betrayal. Why was her other self spared? Why did she have to suffer alone?
That night, something inside Alara shattered.
Her love for her reflection twisted into a bitter, consuming jealousy. She would press her face to the cool glass, her tears streaking the silver, pleading with the perfect girl in the mirror to trade places, to share her pain. But the reflection only stared back, silent and beautiful. Consumed by rage and a desperate loneliness, Alara turned to dark, forbidden arts. She searched for a way to pull the perfect version of herself out of the mirror, or to force her own scarred self into it. Her obsession grew.
She neglected everything else, her home falling into disrepair, her friends turning away, worried by the darkness that now clung to her.
She performed ancient rituals, chanting words that made the air grow cold and the shadows dance. One stormy night, under the light of a fractured moon, she succeeded, but not in the way she had hoped. She didn't pull her reflection out. Instead, the spell ripped her soul in two. Her beauty, her vanity, her joy, the parts of her that had existed before the fire were absorbed into the mirror, giving life and consciousness to the reflection. What was left of Alara, the physical girl, was a vessel of pure bitterness, rage, and sorrow. She had become the Mirror Witch, and the girl in the glass, her perfect counterpart, was now her eternal prisoner and the source of her power. The Mirror Witch discovered she could travel through any reflective surface, her form a fleeting, ghostly image. Her new existence was one of torment. She was trapped between worlds, forever seeing the beauty she had lost, a constant, agonizing reminder of what she could never be again. This pain fueled a terrible envy. If she couldn't have beauty, no one could. She began to visit the homes of the villagers through their mirrors. At first, she would only watch.
She'd appear in the dead of night, a faint, sorrowful face in the glass, observing the happy families, the beautiful young women, the confident young men. Her envy festered like a wound.
Soon, watching wasn't enough. She started to whisper from the glass, planting seeds of doubts and insecurity. To a young woman admiring her wedding dress, the witch would whisper that her smile was crook. To a proud craftsman admiring his work, she'd whisper that his hands were clumsy. She fed on their self-doubt, their insecurities becoming her nourishment. Her power grew with every ounce of confidence she stole.
The village, once happy and bright, became shrouded in a quiet melancholy.
People grew suspicious of one another.
Laughter became rare.
They started to notice faint, fleeting images in their mirrors. A sad, scarred face staring back at them for just a second. Fear took root.
They began covering their mirrors at night, hoping to block her out, to keep her whispers from seeping into their dreams. Years turned into decades, and the mirror witch became a legend, a scary story told to children. But she was real, and she was alone. Her only company was the perfect, silent girl trapped within her own mirror prison. A beautiful face that never aged, never spoke, only watched with sad, knowing eyes. The witch would rage at her, screaming at the injustice of it all. But the reflection remained a silent testament to her own self-inflicted curse. She was her own jailer and her own prisoner. One day, a young boy named Leo, who had heard the stories but was more curious than afraid, forgot to cover the antique mirror in his attic. That night, he awoke to a faint weeping sound.
He crept to the attic and saw Hurrah's shimmering, spectral figure of a woman with a scarred face, her hand pressed against the glass.
She wasn't whispering curses. She was crying. In that moment, Leo didn't see a monster. He saw someone in immense pain. He didn't scream or run. He simply asked, "Why are you so sad?" The mirror witch was stunned. No one had ever spoken to her with kindness, with curiosity instead of fear. The question broke through centuries of bitterness. She looked at the boy, and for the first time, she didn't see someone whose happiness she wanted to steal.
She saw a small flicker of empathy.
Hesitantly, she began to tell him her story, her voice a ghostly whisper that rustled the dust motes in the moonlight.
She told him of Alara, of the fire, of the girl in the mirror. Leo listened.
When she was finished, he said something simple, yet profound. The girl in the mirror isn't mocking you. She's sad, too. She's trapped, just like you are. The witch looked back at the mirror. But this time she looked closer. She saw past the perfect features of her reflection and looked into her eyes. And for the first time she saw it, a deep, profound sorrow that mirrored her own. The perfect girl was just as lonely, just as trapped. She wasn't an enemy to be envied. She was a part of her that was lost. In that instant, a wave of understanding, of acceptance, washed over the witch. Her rage, her envy, the bitterness that had sustained her for so long began to dissolve. She had spent centuries fighting her own reflection, but the real enemy was the hatred she held for herself. She reached out a trembling, spectral hand to the mirror, and her reflection did the same. As their fingers touched on the surface of the glass, a soft, warm light enveloped them. The curse was broken. not by a powerful spell or a valiant hero, but by a moment of self. The two halves of Valera's soul, the scarred and the perfect, merged back into one. The mirror glowed brightly and then went dark. The mirror which was gone, and in her place the spirit of Alara was finally free, no longer bound to the glass, no longer a vessel of pain. She was whole again, ready to move on from the world of reflections. The villagers never saw the mirror witch again.
The whispers ceased, and the oppressive sadness over the town lifted. Slowly, they began to leave their mirrors uncovered, no longer afraid of the reflections that stared back at them.
The story of the mirror which changed. It was no longer just a tale to scare children. It became a lesson, a reminder that the hardest reflections to face are the ones within ourselves, and that true beauty is not the absence of flaws, but the courage to accept and love yourself, scarf and all. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the world of the Mirror Witch. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more Tales from the Shadows, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an adventure. Let me know in the comments what you thought of Alara's story. Until next time, stay curious and be kind to the person you see in the mirror.